Viral Invasion is here. Soon it shall be doomsday for the digital world. The AVAULT store has been infected with the newest playmat. I have all the prices, and it is your chance to get virus level discounts before it is too late. Time is ticking, and all will be gone when the final countdown reaches 0.
Okay, welcome to the very first Gallantmon game where we're playing against none other than Digimon. And speaking of Digimon, make sure to get the Viral Invasion Playmat on the AVAULT store. We got lots of promotions going on. Make sure to check out all the details in the description box and in the pinned comments down below, and I appreciate the support. But here, with our opening hand, we didn't really see what we want, so we decided to go for a mulligan. We want to find like rookies and searching pieces and setup, as well as Timecodes, and sort of ramp up that way. Looks just not the greatest. We don't have the rookie, but still workable. We can utilize the offense training to find pieces. And when it comes to the Digimon matchup, Gallantmon inherently should, in theory, have a really good position and advantage against it, just because we have a lot of removal. We can take out their Digimon. We're constantly popping things non-stop, which is always really good against them to get rid of their tokens and such. But there are some situations where Digimon can just go so wide that we just can't control, and we have no defense. And if they're able to sort of spawn a ton of tokens with Rush with the Kurosari inheritable, we can't really deal with it. So one of our main outs against that particular interaction or sort of situation is really the all-new Gallantmon Crimson mode, which we have in the hand, and it's a fantastic new perfect level 7 perfect Crimson mode for the deck that it always needed to give it a bit of a counter, and as well to finish games just like the old one, equally as good. But here, anyways, we'll continue to sort of like search and cycle through our pieces. We're going a bit slow, bit by bit. We're just trying to draw as much as possible and thin out our deck. And then we're just trying to continue to digivolve and establish setup advantages by going into the ground on BT12 to play out the Takado when we have it for free and try to take advantage as much as possible. They established errata early, so they're going to constantly gain memory afterwards as well. So I'm just trying to think of how to give them as little to work with as possible, which is really, really important. Make sure to calculate the additional memory from errata, because with that one single memory and the multiple erratas that they have, they can just suddenly explosively do a ton of things. So they go all the way up here into their Infamon, into Digimon, de-digivolve our little main small stack at the front and spawn out 2 tokens essentially and put us back to 1. So at this moment, I knew I kind of need to try to deal with the board. I think there is a way because I have enough resources to work with. I can go into the War Growl here. BT12 is always great just to pop something that's like 4k or lower, popping a token, and then of course suspending Takado to gain the memory back. And I'm just contemplating if there's a usage of the new Gallantmon. I have both options. I still play the BT12 old one and the new one as well, just for different like situations that can really come up. But generally throughout playtesting, I felt like the BT12 one is just naturally more better in general, because we can raid, swing, we can trash a security, which we trash Catastrophe Cannon, which is a fantastic hit right there. And then we get to raid over that Digimon, which is only 11k, and we're strong enough. And with the certain amount of inheritables, we can sort of rack up DP, but this one at the stack at the moment only has 12. And then the combination with the BT12 War Growl at the end of the attack, they have nothing. We can gain 2 memory back too, but they get to float 2 tokens out from the deletion at the same time. So they can potentially go for a pretty big clapback and sort of like a climb up potential, because here they just hard play the Kara, digivolve the Kurosari, and then they digivolve the Infern. Infern's gonna pop the token, digivolve back into Diaboro, play more tokens out again, and basically de-digivolve us, and then pop our War Growl, basically clapbacking really, really nicely. And again, their board is just like has multiple tokens all over again. Thankfully, we have that Gillmon. That was actually really important. Having that Gillmon staying on the side right there, with them not being able to remove it, kind of gives us a little bit of a comeback potential. I'm deciding here this turn is actually really important, whether to play all out aggressive or try to play it slow a little bit, or just try to control. I feel like one thing I really need to try to do is also make sure to calculate to give them as little memory as possible, because we don't want them to climb up to another Diaboro, but also try to remove as much as possible for the time being, because they're not in lethal range just yet, but as long as we don't give them too much memory to work with, they can't finish us off either. So we can try to sort of like Digivolve outside a little bit. I want to utilize the Growlmon to delete something, which is fantastic in this matchup, honestly. And then with the Inheritable Guilmon, I want to actually swing and pop another token and then at least try to set something up in the back, so then I can come out for another comeback potential. Running into Catastrophe Cannon here, which is unfortunate. The de-digivolving is not that big for me, or removing my stack outside. I wasn't really intending to play outside as much anyways, but them having an extra token back is another value for them, which is really good. But here now I'm just seeing, okay, how much memory do I really want to give? I probably only want to give them 2 because they're going to start with 3 errata. So by establishing the Growlmon at the back, next turn I can do the full combo all over again, go into War Growl, and then potentially go into Gallant and try to clear their board. But you guys can see how scary it is and how lucky we got from this security check, because they attempt to attack into us with the Diabomon Ace and there's no jamming in there to sort of protect them, running into our 13k Gallantmon from BT13, which is really huge for us, because now this gives us the perfect opportunity to make the huge comeback, and we should take it. So we're going to go into the War Ground, pop the Karamon because I know that thing can actually Digivolve and come up, and then go into Gallant, pop another thing, swing, pop another, raid into it, and clear their board entirely, which is what Gallantmon does best. Gallantmon is just really good against like boards that float, that sort of like have small things, and then it's just really good low end removal. And here they just can only end off with a Karamon, which actually doesn't matter because here there's more than 20 cards in trash at this moment already. So we're gonna go into the good old, not good old, but the brand new Crimson Mode Ace, trash 2, let's swing for game. Alright, next game we are playing against Eosmon, which got a tremendous amount of really good support in BT17, and this deck is going to be pretty insane. So we are going first right here. I decided to keep my hand just because I can see a full line climbing all the way up 3, 4, 5, 6, which is fantastic, and Tocado, which is always a really good setup if we don't see any searching pieces. So here I'm just trying to establish and play the Tocados a little bit early, just because I don't really have the other Growlmon or more Growlmon to play them for free. So it just makes sense to set them up early, just because they have Manoa as well, and it sets their memory at 3, so we can play our own memory tamer and sort of like juggle around the memory gauge during this early stage of the game. So they played out a Morphomon to search, and immediately I decided to go up and sort of like climb up the stack, just because I felt like I want to cycle, right? I want to trash some cards with Black Growlmon, and then I want to sort of draw some, grab some pieces effectively off of this effect, and then possibly debating on which War Growlmon to go into. I have options. I can go into the one that can help me play a Tocado or Guilmon back, but I don't see any value of the ones that I need to. I don't have the other Searching Guilmon to play. I don't have another Tocado to play. So I went into the new one, BT17, which does pop something, which is kind of nice. If we don't pop anything, we gain Sec +1 for the turn. It also gives us the unsuspending capability. But then I realized maybe it wasn't the greatest idea just to go out like that and sort of gamble on some pieces and establish this stack, because now they get to come out and sort of board control us back by playing their Eosmon. They can de-digivolve us, putting us down all the way back to a Guilmon, and they can climb up, which is pretty crazy. You guys can see the new sort of Eosmon and the Manoa combo synergy, and constantly they're just playing tamers. Now, we all know from before, back in BT6, if you guys didn't know as well, with the Eosmon deck, it gives us a lot of value as the opponent too, because a lot of their effects makes us play a tamer too, and then we're just constantly getting so much from before. But one of the biggest issues now is that they are actually going to get even more value by having more tamers on the board, which we're going to find out later on. So even though us as the opponent playing against it, it feels great to play tamers for free, it actually becomes fairly punishing later in the stages of the game, and you guys will get to see it sooner or later. But here they just go straight into the big old BT6 Eosmon, popping our last Guilmon, getting rid of it, but it gives us quite a lot of memory to work with. But here they're already threatening lethal, because the Eosmon on the board can go for 3 checks with a lot of DP on their turn. With all those Eosmon inheritables, it's effectively like a 15-16k body, which I can't get rid of. This is a really big pivotal turn for me at this moment, because I'm contemplating how to play this out. I could either hard slam a Crimson mode and try to attempt to sort of like pop as many bodies as I can, but the new Manoa also is really good. It has a protection capability, kind of like decoy, like when a Eosmon will leave the battle area, just delete one of your other ones to protect it. So I can't just outright try to get rid of the big stack because they have 2 other smaller bodies to protect it. So here I'm trying to see if I can go for a Biomerge play. So by going into the Biomerge play, which is kind of nice, we get to showcase the new Tikado in action. The new Tikado gains as a memory at the start of the main phase as long as you have a Gallantmon, Groundmon, and name. Not if the opponent has a Digimon, which is a little bit unfortunate because otherwise then we can have a little bit more memory, extra memory to work with. But this works out nicely because now the Biomerge effect of the secondary Tikado there is end of turn, which is different to the memory setter one from BT12. So now we can utilize the end of turn. We can go into this new Gallant, which is kind of nice to pop their body. But honestly, I am thinking at this moment, it would have been better if I seen the BT12 one, because then at least I could maybe pop more bodies. But keep in mind, guys, the Gallantmon I have here on the board doesn't even have rush. It can't even attack during this turn. So that's a huge downside here. Maybe I could have just sit and waited a little bit, but I felt like, nah, they definitely get lethal. We have to answer this board. So I'm just trying to see how I want to finish this off. I decided to go for a Crimson mode here and try to just pop their big stack, but like I mentioned, they just basically sacrificed their other Eosmon, so I can't get rid of the big one in the end. So maybe in hindsight, maybe the better play was to actually just Digivolve into like a level 4 at the back, or maybe set some kind of option. Maybe perhaps the Crimson Savior would have been a really good setup there. So looking back in hindsight, maybe that could have been the play that I should have went for, because now I have a level 7 ace sitting on the board with a huge threat to my own, which has Ace Overflow 5, and if they can find a way to get rid of it, it's just going to be really, really punishing. So it looks like they go for Quartzmon and ended up right here, where Quartzmon is just a fantastic level 7 for Eosmon, because of all the tamers they make us play and they get to play for free. The whole board gets flooded by a lot, and Gallantmon is kind of a tamer reliant deck, and having more Tikados is always great. But now in this particular situation, in this matchup, having more Tikados doesn't necessarily mean it's that great, because now we're kind of stuck. We don't have a lot of memory to work with either. All our Blitz Tikados are basically nullified and negated because we can't gain memory even if we were to pop something. So I felt like I have to address this board, because once again, we have to deal with that Quartzmon, otherwise we're just gonna get like completely obliterated the next turn. And luckily, I kind of drew a little bit of an out to sort of like make a comeback, because by going to Groundmon, I popped the smaller Morphomon, but I'm gonna end up having to pay a lot of memory to go into this Gallantmon, the BT13 one. At least we get to showcase it a little bit for some clutch plays. At least we get to remove the Quartzmon and only make them have a body if I'm in raising, and that way we can sort of stay in the game still for the time being. But with that amount of memory, they're going to gain a lot of value and they can make a lot of crazy plays as Eosmon, which we're about to see. So yeah, like I mentioned, maybe in hindsight, going into the Crimson mode during my own turn preemptively maybe wouldn't have been the call. I think setting the Crimson Savior option is really good, especially against this deck, because when opponents play a Digimon that's level 5 or higher, which is what Eosmon effectively does, I can just Digivolve into Gallantmon if I need to from there. But they go for a cutting edge here, playing out the other newer Eosmon, which I believe that's the new BT17 one, which is level 5, which has the Digivolving capabilities. Get to play out Manoa for free. The new Manoa is also really good aside from the protection, because it gives them like a trash one and draw 2 cards kind of capability there. And then it gets a surge as well with an old one. Lots of great synergy, de-Digivolving us all the way back down to Tikado. And then the Tikado is stuck with the Groundmon and Warground inheritable underneath it. Now, I always not entirely sure if we can sort of like change the order of the Biomerge effect of like what pieces goes on top and what goes on the bottom, but I kind of follow the exact order of what the text wrote, where it has to be like this tamer, Groundmon, and Wargroundmon. But if you guys know, let me know in the comments, because maybe that could have been really important for the de-Digivolving to think about. But anyways, yeah, losing our Crimson mode stack, Ace Overflowing 5 is just a huge negative for us in terms of value there, and they're able to rebuild all over again. They can set up a nicer board, and they just kind of need to find a way to get rid of the Gallantmon, which I felt pretty safe at first, because I felt like, okay, you know what, as long as I have the BT13 Gallantmon still here on the board, I can still continue to control the situation a little bit by popping things and deleting and so on, but they're going to play more Manoas and Tamers with the Eosmon, and we have no Tamers to play anymore at this point. And bang, this is when the BT17 new Eosmon comes in, because thanks to the Morphomon Inheritable, let some Digivolve to reduce the cost, get to play another Eosmon, and with all those Tamer counts, it actually deletes a Digimon with equal or lower DP than the Digimon that they play, which is a 4K Eosmon. But if you count, it has an all turns effect, during your turn effect, where all your Eosmon gains extra 1K for every Tamer on the board. There's perfectly 9, which meets them at the perfect 13 threshold, getting rid of our Gallantmon. And that's crazy, crazy, crazy. Even though they give us 4 memory to work with, which is quite a bit, but unfortunately, we can no longer bio-merge again, just because I don't think I have a War Groundmon in trash to utilize, because it's stuck underneath the Tocado that can bio-merge. I can't, I have both bio-merging capabilities. I can either use the BT12 one for the main, I can either use the new one for end of turn. I actually even have a Rush Gilmon that I can potentially try to make the clapback if I only had a War Groundmon. So really, unfortunately, I just went for the Crimson Savior option play, which again, should have definitely played it a little bit earlier when I can, especially against this matchup, which could be really, really good and could change the tide of the game. And yeah, I use it to play a Gilmon back from trash just to search for a piece and then try to see what I can really do in terms of trying to my best to stay in the game. They have 4 attacks. I don't think I can clear the board entirely unless if I find like another like Y board removal card effectively. And arguably speaking, I should have probably even Digivolved into the Rush Gilmon on the back to draw an additional card to see what else I can sort of play from, aside from just going into the Groundmon and then just popping it. But yeah, passing them to 3, maybe just baiting them that we might have a Metal Gray Ace or anything like that. I don't know. But situation looks pretty doomed, so they swing for game and they got it against us this time. Okay, so for this game, we are playing against Mastamon, which is a really, really cool and fun matchup. You guys are in for a treat for this one. I have a ton of fun playing this entire game for sure. Now, we both have a lot of control elements. There's going to be a lot of back and forth. Gallantmon can pop things and remove boards. Mastamon is also really good at control and at the grind game. It can actually go either way, because Gallantmon also is really good in the late game stages, especially with Crimson mode, as we all know. So yeah, we're gonna see what's about to happen. So here in the early stages, we see our pieces. We're just trying to go and, set up Tocados, play our trainings and such. And I always like the classic combo where if they give us a lot of memory, I'm just gonna hard play one of the Gilmons to search, Digivolve into Groundmon, grab a Tocado, and then I can play a Tocado for free. And it's always off to a great start, but it is kind of scary because even though they give us a lot of memory, establishing the Mirai for them constantly is going to give them long-term value turn after turn. Here, I noticed a very, very, very important pivotal point. It seems like they don't have the Angel that they can get into with Gatomon. So this tells me I have to get rid of it. I have to get rid of it as soon as I can, because I don't want them to Digivolve into any Angel, Angelmon, or Lady Devi, which gives them all the value and advantages that they can to quickly climb up into a Mastamon. And this is exactly why I went into the War Groundmon instead of building in the back. Otherwise, just to get rid of it and continue to search and find pieces so then I can continue to build my stack in the back. And here we're setting up a lot of memory boosts, trainings, which is good. Continue to find the pieces we need later for the game. Notice that they played reinforcing earlier and they were able to set up a Flame House Scythe in there, which also is another huge indicator to me that maybe we need to be wary of it, because that can play them to Gatomon back and then they can continue to turbo find pieces. Those are really 2 great hits thanks to that, but here they're going to go into another Gato off their effect anyways, and they're going to continue to search and find more pieces as they go. So here we're not too worried. They can get rid of War Growl. We just need to find a way to sort of find our null line back to 4, 5, and 6. We have Gallant to work with as well. And we also do have the Black Growlmon to sort of like grab things back if we need to from the trash. So we have choices to grab War Growlmon. We also have Gilmon if we need a hard play it. But here they're just going to go for those crazy combos with Mastamon. You guys can see Chip Away Uko, have it get deleted, perfect. So then they can Digivolve now and then they can immediately DNA into Maste and then put something back, setting up the Gato effectively for another play, or basically by having it in their security, they can Digivolve for free, thanks to Patamon. So that's really, really good. So they go into Lady Devi and basically pop our level 5. Gallantmon doesn't have protection generally, so, you know, there's going to be a lot of removal back and forth between, which is a really fun game, honestly. So we're going to attempt to attack into us, finding ourselves a Tocado, which is great value here, and they're setting up the secondary Mirai from EX6. Now, with that much memory to work with, we're just missing a Wargroundmon piece here. Like I mentioned, we can go into Black Growl to grab it back. Either or, and then we're just going to go ahead and basically try to remove their board. Remember, one of the key most important things when you're playing against Mastamon is to make sure to get rid of level 5s. The reason is because they can blast Ace, and we're doing this and we're being very wary about this throughout the entire game. We managed to find out the BT17 War Growl as well, which is fantastic, so we're going to go into that one just to pop because it can pop it perfectly 6k, basically playing around that Ace, gain a bunch of memory back with Tocado. And this is actually here where I think I realized I misplayed a little bit or made a suboptimal play. I got too excited and suspended the 2 Tocados to gain 2 memory, where I actually should have just suspended 1 to gain 1 to put myself at 3, because I can Digivolve into Gallantmon, which is the BT17 one, to make sure my memory is at 0 first, so then I'm actually immune to everything. Because then I can actually Digivolve into that, swing over the Mastamon, or maybe even have the choice to swing into security and then remove the Mastamon afterwards, else how? Because I know they have a Flame Hellscythe and they're going to DP reduce us, but now thinking back in hindsight, maybe it doesn't matter too much because I was thinking about too much deeply during the actual game, thinking the Flame Hellscythe was just stuck in my head the entire game. I was like, I gotta play around it, I gotta not let them have it, because I just felt like it's going to give them so much value in that one hit, and if we can't get rid of whatever they play out with Flame Hellscythe immediately, they're just gonna turbo and get into it and basically explode all over us and remove a ton of stuff. So I was just really trying really tight to go into this Gallantmon, the BT17 one. This actually comes in handy in this matchup more so than the BT12 one, because I can actually utilize the DP buffs. I don't have any DP buffs in my inheritables at the moment, so having that one basically makes it a 14k and I can swing over it. And at the same time, if I want to swing over the Mastamon, they actually have retaliation, and not being able to play around the retaliation, we don't want our stack to be gone because of that either. So that's why I was really nitpicky on being at the 0 memory to utilize the unaffected by anything by effects, which the protection and unaffection is just really good for Gallantmon when it comes to that. However, it only works for our turn, not the opponent's turn. So here they're able to go into Zapata once again, pushing it out, Digivolving the Gado, and doing all that crazy combos. They don't get to search off of this one, which is fine, but they can still at least, hey, get into another Angelmon or Lady Devi if they need to, and then continue the cycle. Here they're going to play another one and actually search and gain the memory back thanks to Mirai. They can also then Digivolve it something back from the trash into Lady Devi or Angelmon. Lady Devi is going to pop the Growl there, which, I just decided to end on that Growl just because I was like, okay, I want to give them as little memory as possible to work with. And then here they've just got lots of options. They can actually either choose to Digivolve here, like we can see, into Angelmon, gain some memory back, or search the security at the same time. Not gain memory back, but yeah, mainly just search, but effectively only Digivolving for 1 cost. And they're just free to go ahead and DNA right here and just remove our Gallantmon back. Once again, the protection isn't during the opponent's turn, it's only during your turn, which is our turn. Which is a little bit unfortunate. I kind of felt like the Gallantmon could use a little bit better protection, you know what I mean, when it comes to that. And also with the Wargroundmon inheritable, it has to delete a Digimon via an effect in order to unsuspend, which is a great inheritable, which Gallantmon does best. But it would have been nice if we can actually unsuspend our Gallantmon as well. That way we have a blocker standing here, which was at least like 14k. But still with Mastamon, it's still just 13k. They don't have enough to go over it. They don't have the Alliance Angelmon, which can actually potentially help them run over it here. But at the same time, we're not too worried if they do have it, just because I have Crimson Mode ready to sort of like blast into them and sort of take them out if they try to attempt to do anything to sort of threaten our stack here just by a bit. But of course, as per usual, by going to Mastamon to establish a Lady Devi again, which basically threatens out an Ace here. With their Mastamon Ace, they're gonna swing with the Mastamon, and I'm actually just debating if I really want to go for the Crimson Mode Ace last counter play. Now I feel like I gotta get rid of that Lady Devimon. The thing is, the Mastamon actually has Scapegoat, I believe. And yeah, with the EX6 Lady Devimon, even if I attempt to delete the Mastermon, they could actually just scapegoat it with the Lady Devi. But also, I'm not too concerned about that Mastermon. Once that Mastermon's on the board, it's done its job. I'm actually more afraid of the level 5s, because once again, like I mentioned, we want to stop them from playing the aces. But this is where they slam down for a big play with the Mastermon ace, using Mirai to end of turn DNA to go into Ordiamon, which we completely did not see that coming. We fell for the bait. Ordiamon is gonna pop the Gallantmon ace. There's no protection there either. And then if ace overflow, they're just gonna gain all that memory back, and they get to make another attack here and swing, and we're almost basically unable to continue to come back and play. Playing the Mirai, gaining the memory back with Lady Devi for it as well is just really good for them. And here we're basically starting at 3 memory, and we're just trying to see, is there a way to come back? They have essentially 6 security against 1 of our own. But I'm gonna show you guys, we are not gonna be ending this game without a fight. We can actually do this. This is the moment where we're waiting for. I mentioned there's going to be a lot of back and forth and grind game. Both decks are really good at the later stages, and they can sort of like grind each other. Now with that, I started counting trash. I can play Gallantmon for effectively 3 costs by reducing it by effectively like 10, which is fantastic. Popping the Lady Devi, and I can rush and swing, popping the Ordine. Ordine can come back by trashing their own security, which has that flowing capability, which is really good. But with all that ace overflow and memory gain back, we can actually reset up and sort of like re-strategize us all over again. I have another Crimson mode. I only went into that first Crimson mode without thinking too hard, just because I know I have a second one to help me later finish the game. So this is the position where I'm sitting at now. I'm going to be like, okay, let's just set up as many Timecodes as we can, Digivolve in the back a little bit. Next turn, we're going to go into War Growl, go into another Gallant, and do that combo all over again and control their board and try to start attacking, finally actually doing some damage against them. Really cool. They're really effectively seeing the Patamon there in raising as well, and then they can always continue to climb up. As long as they have security to work with, they can really go for that. Here I'm contemplating if I should go for that ace again. They're going to attack and try to bait into us, but we're not going to do it, because by doing it, we're just going to not be able to save it to finish off for the game. And I don't want to end up giving them ace overflow again. Both our decks are starting to run thin. They're actually running a bit more thinner than ours, just because they draw more cards and search for more cards effectively compared to us. And yeah, they're just going to go for the Gato, grab more pieces, suspend 2 Mirais, basically gain double memory back, and then they can essentially just Digivolve from the trash as well. They could actually went for a very, very cool play. They probably could have actually tried to attempt to swing into us with the Ordiamon instead of security, trying to, you know, get rid of that Gallant at least. But here they're trying to find a way to probably try to get into it. Notice how the early stages of the game, they probably seen a Lucamon, and it's probably been a while. There could have been 2 chances where they are. We were conversing during this game. The Lucamon could have actually went into security, where if they are able to DNA with Mastermon, then great. Or it could have been somewhere in the deck really, really deep, which they probably finally found it. And let's see if they're actually able to play it. Because by playing, if they're able to find a Lucamon and play it, this could be very, very, very unfortunate for us. But it looks like they decided to go for the Lady Devi, meaning they probably don't have the Lucamon Chaos mode, which can pop anything. And this passes us back to our turn, and we can potentially actually try and finish it off right here. Watch, guys. We have the resources. We have the cards we need. But again, the whole game, the entire game, the card that I'm trying to play around is also Flamehouse Scythe. So I'm going to Digivolve up. Most importantly, get rid of the level 5 first before anything happens, because that's what we want to delete to prevent their Blast Ace from coming. I'm checking their trash to see what they can potentially play. I'm okay to going into this War Growl just to pop that. And what I really want to do is utilize the Gallantmon to swing to pop the Mastermon so I can gain the Ace Overflow memory back. Of course, I'm not going to pop the Ordiamon because they're just going to trash the security and then come back. And I'm actually counting the number of cards in trash at this moment. Really, really crucial, and to do that math and make those calculations, because my intention is to actually finish off with Crimson mode somehow. By going into this Gallant, the initial plan is if it gets rid of it, then I gain also Ace Overflow, I can go into Gallant on top of my War Growl, and then continue to go into Crimson mode and trash the rest to finish the game off. So I'm going to go and attack right here. With that many security, I was making a bit of a gamble, and surely, wow, I didn't. I mean, we saw it coming. My biggest fear of the entire game came out. Flame Hell Scythe. Flame Hell Scythe is gonna reduce 6000 DP to a War Growl, and then they're gonna play the Angewomon Ace to minus another 6 and basically get rid of us. And now we lost our stack and we can no longer go into Gallantmon on top of the War Growl to finish it off, which is unfortunate. But all hope is not lost. We got the Pro Tag power, we got the Timecodes power in us, because we're gonna show you guys how cool once it is having the accessibility to go and bio-merge, especially with this Gallantmon that has Rush. At this point, we have more than 20 cards in trash, both of us, so we're gonna definitely gain the Rush. The nice thing with this Gallantmon, it gains Rush, so it gives the Digimon Rush, essentially. So we're gonna have to perfectly just calculate the memory just to pass them perfectly at 1, because now at the end of turn, we're gonna use the Neo Timecodes to bio-merge Gallantmon, Growlmon, and War Growlmon into Gallantmon. Now by doing so, our memory is less than 0. So we can pop a 6k with Gallantmon, but thanks to the Growlmon Inheritable, it increases it by a 2k, allowing us to pop the Angewomon Ace Overflow back to us. And now we are counting trash. Both of us has more than 20. That means it's 40 in total, going into Crimson mode once again. We get to finish the game in the most epic way after the long grind. Don't forget to grab your very own copy of the Viral Invasion Playmat on the AVAULT store right now. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. You guys have a great day, great night, wherever you are. See you in the next video, and this is AVAULT signing out.